another episode of On the Record with Tiffany here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
And Kevin, don't forget that part.
With Tiffany and Kevin. And we can be seen on TAN TV, the African American Network Television, where we have a local feel with a global reach. Oh. So.
I'm laughing because we've been teasing each other back and forth, right? So, as you know, one of the things that, we've been going over these last 3 episodes, right? So the first one, you heard a little bit about Tiffany. The second one, you heard a little bit about me. And so I hope I came across as brilliant as Tiffany. I doubt it, though, but we'll go with that.
Nope, I was better.
But the third one, right, is sort of a wrap up in this whole idea, because Dynamic Life Press is coming out with a series that is a historical series that is really wrapped around the idea that if, by the time you're the second great whatever, you're the second great uncle, great aunt, great grandparent or whatever, most of the people who know you are dead, right, or about to die, and you're going to be forgotten. I know it's a sad fact of life, but that's generally where it is, right? And so that's the viewpoint we're coming from. So if your second great grandchild was to come to you and ask questions, what are the things that you'd want them to know, right? And that stood out in your life that you'd want them to be aware of, right? A little sentimentality there, but that's the idea behind these this series of 3 that we've done. And so we're going to ask each other a few of these questions, right? So I have the questions, and so I have a series that's coming up. It's going to be a podcast around, it's going to more or less center around the people that I know and that I would want my grandchildren or grand whatever to know about the people that I knew in my life. And I have this series of women that I have written down that I'm going to be conducting for the first wave, and then it'll be different family members, okay?
He's just pumping up my head so he can plug his podcast. That's what he's doing.
Yes, I am. So she's known me for a while. All right, Tiffany. So here it's going to be like, what's your favorite food?
That's what you came up with?
That's what I came up with. What's your favorite food? Tell me. I want to know.
Well,
you need to get closer to the
cannelloni.
Cannelloni. What's that?
Cannelloni. It's an Italian dish with chicken, ricotta. That's the one that I like.
All right.
Spinach.
All right. And so where'd you first get this food? Since this is the one thing you want someone to remember back in time.
Like the food? The first place I had it was this little pizzeria.
What's a pizzeria?
A pizza place.
Okay.
Near my school when I was in high school. No, you know what? The first place I had it was at a hotel. We had gone to Italy. I was viewing schools there, and we just went to the hotel.
And this is what year?
This was 87.
Oh, okay. All right, so 87, you're in Italy, and this is where you get this cannelloni.
Cannelloni. It's not cannelloni. See? Well, you're trying to mess with me now.
All right, so we know that cannelloni was your favorite
and
food there.
It's still one of my favorites.
It is, right? So that explains why we always, you want to try that, and you want me to try it. I'm like, I don't want to try it. I want
every time, he's always like, no. It's not that great to me, but I like very authentic cannelloni, and there are some places that have it, and it's good.
Anyway, with food, I like when I go to somewhere, I like what I like, and I don't want to try anything new because I like what I like.
Yes.
That's what it is there. All right, so that's your favorite. What is your favorite dish to cook?
Favorite dish to cook? Shrimp etouffee.
Shrimp etouffee. Why?
Because my entire family loves it.
All right, yeah.
Everybody loves it when I make it. Friends, family, whomever, they all love the shrimp etouffee when I make it.
So I asked that question because just as a kid, specifically Tiffany's grandmother, her name, we called her Ma. Her name is Victoria Applin, and she was a pistol, right? 100%, right? And I just remember talking to her about.
Everybody says I'm just like her.
Yes, the weak need not apply on this one here, right? But I asked that question because I just remember listening to Ma, and one of her favorite, I forget, she was telling me about a dish that she cooked. And the reason that dish was important to her was because that was one of the first meals that her mother sat down with her and showed her how to cook. And she still learns how to cook that. And she had a cake that she did, but there was like something that dealt with shrimp etouffee and probably crawfish, because it stands out in my head.
We did a lot of, our family is from Louisiana, from Southern Louisiana. And so there's a lot of Cajun and Creole cooking that's all that I learned to cook initially. I can cook lots of other things now, but those are all my staples. And so learning how to make a roux and learning how to
that's a
do the
gravy
basics.
For you people like me in West Texas. When I heard roux, I was like,
You didn't know what it
what's
was?
a roux? And you see them make it, like, oh, this is the gravy. And they get offended.
I get offended when you guys want to come over and talk about flavor and food, and y'all don't know what a roux is and don't know what the trifecta are. Anyway, okay.
All right, so so food is a big thing, right, with us. And I just remember Ma, and I do know, like with your dad, that's a big thing that we do is food, and especially crawfish. Crawfish grow on you after a while, because anything.
Crawfish are amazing.
Yes, so crawfish does grow on you, but that's a whole process right there, and that's a big family tradition that we have. I know that Tiffany's family has, right? So is this whole Southern Louisiana thing, and it's not just her particular family, but the food itself is very common in the Beaumont, Southeast Texas community. Everybody, my favorite dish is gumbo, because everyone has their own dish of gumbo, and they claim theirs is better than everybody else's, right?
Well, everybody's gumbo is a little bit different, And yeah, you like your people's gumbo more than you like somebody else's gumbo. We all try other people's gumbo, but we all love our own gumbo.
So that's all right. So we know you like gumbo. All right, I'm gonna switch it up on you.
No, I said shrimp etouffee. I like gumbo too.
Yeah.
I make a mean gumbo as well.
Yeah, Tiffany has a cousin who's allergic to shellfish, and I don't know how this man has made it out of Southeast Texas alive, but they make an extra gumbo for him.
We make
just and they set it to the side for Danny, and they literally guard it like Fort Knox.
Yeah, nothing can touch it.
Yeah, I remember I was like, hey, who's gumbo? And they were like,
he's very.
Oh, he's acutely allergic. And they guard it. And I remember going over there, I was like, whose gumbo is this? That's Danny's. Don't touch it. I was
Do not touch that pot of gumbo.
Yeah. So that's a big thing there. So, all right. So a good thing there. All right. I'm going to switch it up on you a little bit, babe. All right. Who is your favorite historical figure?
My favorite historical figure. Gosh, it's a toss-up for me between Ida and Martin Luther King.
Well, toss it. Let's go with both of them. Okay, so Ida. Who is Ida?
Ida B. Wells.
Ida B. Wells. What's important about Ida B. Wells, since that's your favorite historical person?
Well, she was out there promoting women's rights when African American women didn't have rights, and white women didn't have rights. And she was independent. That just was unheard of at that time period, to see a woman, an African American woman, demanding to be at the front of women's suffrage.
Yeah, that is interesting, because Ida B. For those of you who don't know Ida B. Wells, Google it. All right, please go Google it. So Ida B. Wells is an American leader, right, in the late 1800s. So she was there, and she was one of the first people to take on and challenge the terroristic acts of lynching. And because of Ida B. Wells and many others, they were able to change the lynching laws, right? And so that people could be there was a whole process there. One of my favorite stories about Ida B. is that they were marching on Washington for women's suffrage. So here we are. We have a group of people trying to get the right to vote. And then they're telling
the black women.
They're telling the black women to get at the back of the line. Well, Ida B. says no.
Ida B. was like, nope.
And so what she did was she cut the line, not cut the line, but she positioned her group of people who were marching to where they marched right in front of, went right in right before the group of white women were supposed to go in line. And so she did that. And she was also a very good writer.
It was the biggest scandal of the day.
Yep.
When she did that.
So she cut in front of the likes of Susan B. Anthony.
That's right. And they were reaching out to her because she was the one who was the bad butt in the group. She was the one that was like, we're gonna have this one way or another.
Yeah, so if you go to our house, we have several books about written about Ida B. Wells on the library there, and this is
play in our library.
Yeah, and so this is so I'm a bit of a geek, so we're history geeks, right? So one of the things that I've been reading and go to the Library of Congress, right? Look this guy. You can Google this guy too. His name is Thomas T. Fortune. Right, and so Tiffany always gets upset when I bring up Thomas T. Fortune because it appears from the original writing that Thomas T. Fortune and Ida B. had a thing going on, right?
Lord, why do you have to besmirch historical names with your mess? Why you always got to have some piece of gossip?
So because it's very funny. So Ida B. Wells, right, Hellraiser, civil rights activist, right, someone who's stern, who's getting
She was a heaven raiser. She was a heaven raiser.
All right. So Ida B. Wells, right? So there in that same line, what was an act of kindness that someone showed you that they didn't have to show you that impacted your life?
An act of kindness. When I was at Marymount, I was coming from Southeast Texas. You know, as you say, project adjacent, 7 streets over from the project. Hop on a plane, and I'm in an elite boarding school in Italy. But I'm there with all of the baggage that comes from being where I was from and all of the things that I'd experienced as a kid. And so we had open classrooms. You had so many classes scheduled during the day, and then open hours where you could just go and study in a different classroom or in the library or go back to your room.
This is high school, right?
This is high school. And so Huda, one of the girls in my class, there were 26 of us in my class, 26 girls. And Huda said, "We want to talk to you." And so a group of girls got together with me and said, "Hey, we know you come from the South, but you haven't been answering questions, and you hadn't been really talking to any of us, and we feel like it's because you think we might be racist, and you're guarded around all of us." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, some of the stuff that you say, you've been impacted by all of these other social issues down in Texas. And it made me wake up to how I was behaving and what I thought about myself. Like, wait a minute, all of the things that people have said to me that I've internalized, I haven't dealt with.
Yeah, because
it's not somebody else. If somebody calls you out of your name, how you internalize it and walk through life with it, that's you. You've got to take it out and examine it and toss it in the trash if it's not something that should be in your life and in your heart. And I didn't realize how impacted I had been by many of the things that the knuckle draggers in society had said to me. And so when they did that and just started talking to me about it, it was a change for me. I began to examine what the ticker tape that was running in my head was saying.
Oh, never told me that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That was new. I'm glad I asked that question. All right.
Well, you're finding out new things every day, Mr. Smith.
All right. So the last question, I hope I get it before the time's up here. What's the most influential non-family member?
Most influential non-family member? Now or?
Whatever. Answer the question.
Okay. I would say the most influential non-family member in terms of how I think and how I operate would be Henry Cisneros. He's very influential in how I think and operate.
Why? Tell me more.
Because, he has this way of uniting people, even groups of people that you think they are not going to work together. He just manages to say the right thing and do the right thing. So when I'm dealing with very difficult situations, then I will do one of two things. I'll either call Mary Alice and ask a question like, hey, how would you handle this? Or I'll just think about and look at historically how he's handled certain things. Like he's been a very influential, he and Mary Alice have been very influential non-family members.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good to know. All right, that explains a lot.
Especially with their commitment to public health, commitment to living in their community, and living smaller than they have to in order to do big things. That stuff. Like when you're thinking about the value that your life can add to your community. That I think about them. How do you handle that? And I ask them questions. That's to people that for me are non-family, but as influential as family.
All right, I like that. So, and I'll say I have to give you this background so this next comment is going to make sense. I would normally just say it because Tiffany would get the background, right? So I am a huge comic book geek. I mean, I just love comic books, right? And so
our house is a testament to it. We have
yes,
stacks of these things.
they're nicely, neatly, and they're neat and they're organized. But I'm a huge fan, right? And I'm also a huge military fan guy. And just the concept, right? And so Tiffany always gives me grief about that, right? And but one thing, I'm a big fan of Batman, and the biggest thing about Batman that I like is that he, along with Iron Man, yeah, she's recently become a fan of Batman, is that they're the only superheroes who don't have superpowers. None. I mean, Batman has absolutely no superpowers, neither does Iron Man. But what they have are resources and creativity, and they solve problems and take on people. And that's one of the things that I told my wife. I said, you remind me of two things, right? She was like, what? But she was giving me grief. So you remind me of Batman. And
His
she goes,
description is always that I'm giving it. Always has
well, it
to
is,
throw
right?
it in there.
So when you come in and go, what are you doing? What does it look like I'm doing? I'm reading a comic book. Go away. So, and I was telling her this analogy about Batman, right? And then the other one is I like military shows, right? In particular, a particular group of military guys are the Green Berets, right? They are a fascinating group because they send these usually 12 people in to go in and train the local people on how to take on a particular situation. And then with the support of the U.S. government and the military, they're able to bring things, make changes happen. And that's the analogy that I use with my wife, is that one of the things that she's doing, especially in regards to the Texas Kidney Foundation, is that she is going around like Batman, raising key people in these initiatives to say, hey, we can work to cause people to think differently, to act differently, and change different policies. And so where she is this ordinary human being, no superpowers, right? She has creativity and people skills like you wouldn't believe to gather this strong group of people together to take on a social issue that is impacting many.
I see our board members and our community partners as our SEAL team. You know, we have these people that have stellar backgrounds and just incredible intellectual capacity to see a problem from a different perspective. Like, we've dealt with kidney disease for decades in the very same manner. Not much has changed. But now, for just such a time as this, we have the opportunity to change behavior, change attitude, and change the health of the people in our community. We can offer them something more than just the same old, same old. And that, you know, there's something amazing about being able to do that. There's something amazing about having somebody like Carl Dukes that is out there doing his best work. You know, I just talked to somebody, calling people randomly. I was calling someone about a sponsorship. Mm-hmm. And I get this lady on the phone, and she says, "Oh, I will buy tickets. I will sponsor Texas Kidney Foundation." And I said, "Why? You know, why are you?" You know, she was so excited about it, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because Carl Dukes, I was going into stage 4 kidney disease. Carl Dukes, I went to see him, and he saw that that's what was happening, and he said, I'm gonna test everything to see what this is, because I don't want you to have to go on dialysis." So first of all, that right there is different from most people, right? He looked at everything, figured out that it was something to do with the ACE inhibitor that she was taking. That's according to her. I didn't call Carl and ask him. And changed that, and literally saved her kidneys. Literally saved her kidney health, saved her quality of life. It's people who are thinking. Having a physician is not the same as having the best of the best physician. That's what Carl is.
Dr. Dukes, don't let that go to your head. All right. So
now Kevin is saying that because Dr. Dukes is the Billy D of nephrology. He's like one of the handsomest doctors out there. That's what that's what it is.
All right.
It's called jealousy.
I have some stuff in my head right now that I'm going to keep to myself. So all of this to say, all these things, right, I think everyone should, that seem ordinary to you, right? You go through it. It's just events in your life. They will mean the world to another generation to know these things and that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're using the show for is I'm going to download all this stuff, and I have a repository where I keep this information and these recordings. So that is things that I just now, a few things I found out that I didn't know about my wife that I like. And everyone, all the women just say, "Oh, Dr. Dukes, whatever, Dr. Dukes."
Everybody loves Dr. Dukes. He's a great guy. Anyway, you've been listening to On the Record with Tiffany here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. And we can be seen on the African American Network Television, where we have a local feel with a global reach.
And on YouTube.
And on YouTube and wherever podcasts are streamed.